welcome back to Fair Iron Customs. I'm Michael, and today what I have going on is I just wanted to kind of go over why I think it's important for anybody doing automotive work to have about a little bit of a knowledge about metallurgy and how things work. Need to shave. On this past weekend, Fitzy had posted a video and he was making a handle for his bead roller, and the piece of steel that he had picked out to make the handle with was hardened. And you know, of course, you cannot drill hardened steel with it still hard. But what you can do is you can anneal that piece of steel, and I want to show you how to anneal steel if you have a piece of if you have something that you want to use and needs to be drilled, to give you a couple of options. I got the forge warming up, and I've got here, it's just a trailer spring, and I'm going to show you two ways to make this hole bigger. Alright, I'm going to grab a couple more tools and then I'm going to come right back. Okay, before we get into annealing that steel and while the forge is still getting hot, I want to kind of talk about softening steel. And if you're going to do a differential temper on a knife blade, this is basically the way you would do it. You would heat the spine of the knife, and what I'm doing here is I want to show you the colors, and we are just going to heat the spine until it starts turning blue. I think it's interesting. I've always had an interest in metallurgy and steel. I've always been a mechanic, so anyway, I'm gonna get this hot because y'all are gonna get bored. I'd be better off to use my torch, but my torch is out of gas right now, so let me get this hot and I'll come back. Alright guys, that's gonna be hard for y'all to see. I apologize because my damn lighting has gone too horrible. I'm starting to get some colors in that steel. I'll bring it in close to the camera. I would turn my light on, but my light got killed. Last time I ran my forge, I had too much heat and it burned up and it absolutely killed the light. So I'm gonna grab a pair of tongs to get hold of that, because if even black steel will burn you now. Okay, so what I want y'all to see here is that the yellow color is like 400 degrees, and when it gets above the yellow, which is a straw color, they call it a straw color, you'll see purple, blue, and then it gets to a lighter blue, and pretty soon after that it's going to get start getting into your orange and reds and your actual heats. And I say a lot of time in my videos, if you heat up a nut, it wrecks the temper in it. And anything carbon steel that has hardness to it, if it goes beyond that color, you have wrecked the hardness in it. So if this was a piece of carbon steel, it would already be softer than it was originally. Alright, so let's get into drilling these holes. Try to do this the best I can. Like I said, my light has been damaged, so from the heat from the fire. I have not tried to drill this springs, so I don't know what it's going to do, but I'm going to assume since the spring's steel, we're not going to be able to drill it. That hole is already bigger than the bit, so I wouldn't be able to demonstrate how to go from like quarter to 5/16 or 5/16 to 3/4. But as you can see, it will scratch it a little bit, but then it starts chattering. So I'm going to go ahead and heat this up and we'll come back. Okay guys, I couldn't find my drift. It has strong legs. Makes it still a little hot. So what I was going to show you about making a hole larger, and I just took a chisel and made it into a drift. I'm going to go right over the hardy hole here, and you can probably wouldn't be a great idea to grab it with your hands. I'm sure it's hot. Alright, so we went one way, and that got one side enlarged, and now we went the other way, and that enlarged the other side. So all you got to do is heat a piece of steel up and drive a drift one way, and then turn around and drive it the other way, and that will make the hole bigger. If it's a piece of hardened steel that you can't drill and you don't care about it being hardened, that's all you got to do. Now, what I'm going to do so far as showing you how to drill a hole, how to anneal the steel, is we are going to stick it back in the fire and let it get hot. And once it gets hot, you can put the piece of steel in vermiculite, or you can put it in, I think you can get vermiculite at like the garden centers and stuff. You can use lime or coal ash to anneal steel. Oh, that was the other thing I was going to show y'all about making, about knowing when you reach critical. Alright, so where you're trying to get to anneal your steel is to above critical temperature, and critical temperature is the point where a magnet, well, is actually where a magnet won't stick to the steel, is actually higher than critical temperature. And what I'm going to let this to do, and this is what I normally do for anything I'm heating, I turn the forge off and I let it cool down a little bit, stick the steel back in there, and let the steel cool down with the forge. And that's how I anneal any knife, steel, or whatever I'm using. I just let it cool with the forge. I mean, that's really the only option that I have. So we're going to let that cool down, and as soon as it cools for a few hours, I'll come back and we'll drill a hole in it. Alright guys, it's been a week. So this thing has had plenty of time to cool. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to try to drill it. Okay, there we go. It's about a 1/4 inch thick. So it was a little hard to drill, but it was definitely soft. Bring it into focus. You can see there where it started chattering the other day, and it drilled it. And that is a leaf spring. So most assuredly, focus, focus. It's probably 5160 or something there, very similar. Alright guys, so I found a chart, and I'll put it in a video. That kind of tells you what, we were talking about that piece I heated up. I'm not even sure where it got off to now, and showed the colors on it. I kind of did that wrong for a differential treat. Differential or temper should have only heated the spine, and the colors went all the way to the edge. Of course, that wasn't a blade, it was just a piece of mild steel. So, no big worries there. The chart that I showed y'all shows you what temperatures the colors are in a piece of steel starting at like the really light gold and working your way up. On one side, I think it goes to it's gold. It works into the brown and then blues and up into purples, and I think it goes up to like 600 degrees, and then on the other side of the chart it's like 1100, and that's where you start getting your actual orange red from heating it, you know, to where it's actually starts glowing red or orange on up to a white heat. You know, it starts at 1100 and goes to like 2200 or something like that on the other side. I can't remember. I looked at the chart a while ago. Like I said, leaf springs are typically considered to be 5160, like fork tines or forklift forks, as we call them in the South. Forklift forks and things like axles and a rear end are generally like 4340, like a chromoly steel, or 4140, which is a chromoly steel. Knives are usually, a lot of people make knives out of leaf springs type steel, which is 5160 or 80 CRV2, and there maybe it's got chromium and a couple of different ingredients in that steel to make it specific to what it is. Every steel has a chart. You can go online and say and look up how to heat treat this steel, and it will tell you the temperature you need to heat the steel to and how long you need to hold it there, what quench oil you need to use. It will tell you what temperature you need to bring it back down to temper it. You know, it list goes on and on. This is just a general idea about how to do this in your shop with a piece of unknown steel that you can't put a bit through. Heat it till a magnet will not stick to it, and let it cool, and you should be able to put a bit through it. And if you want, like I said, you can just use your vise and get a tapered drift and drift the hole out bigger. Drift it one way will make it bigger in one direction, and drift it the other way will make it bigger in the other direction. The center of it will be kind of cone shaped like that, so you'll have to keep in mind that the center of it will not be the same size as the outside. You may have to take a burr to it or something. So I mean, there's a bunch of different ways. Maybe at some point in a video we'll do some punching some holes. I mean, I punched some hammer eyes with, I've got a tool that I made to punch hammer eyes with, which is, I don't know if y'all can see that or not. It's just for a small hammerhead eye, and you'll punch down to this point. This is a piece of coil spring straightened out. You'd punch it one way, and then you flip the piece of steel and punch it the other way, and a slug comes out. And then you would size it to your hammer with this is a hammer eye drift, and this is specific for the size hammer that I was working on. But those are just some fun things that I learned from being a blacksmith that I think you know, is helpful for guys doing stuff around the shop and in the shop and making stuff. You know, it's just fun stuff. So, you know, don't throw out that piece of steel just because you can't drill it. You know, get a torch and heat it up. Make the hole bigger with a drift. Heat it up. Let it cool. And then you should be able to drill it. I mean, and there's proper ways to do it. People will say, you know, someone in the comments may show up and say, you know, you need a heat treat oven to do it this way specifically. Absolutely. You know, there's specific ways to do everything. We're just trying to do things the way we can in our own shop. So that's all I got for you guys in this video. Next week's video I'm probably going to shoot actually just as soon as I get done with this one. And so if I'm still wearing the same clothes that I was and still got the same grease on my arms, it's because I shot it today. I'll see y'all later.